watching ERi-TV, dear viewers. Welcome to this week's special edition of Open Mic. I am at the Crystal Hotel here in Asmara, outside of our studio, and the hotel management has been very kind enough for us to hold this interview at this hotel. My guest for this evening, dear viewers, is Dr. Dexter Story. He is an Eritrean American distinguished ethnomusicologist, composer and producer, known for his deep academic and artistic connection to Eritrean culture. He is a graduate of the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. He holds both an MA in African Studies and a PhD in Ethnomusicology. His doctoral dissertation, Guila Nation, focuses specifically on the traditional Tigrinya music of Eritrea, and having become a frequent visitor to the Eritrea National Festival since 2019, Dr. Dexter's Story bridges the gap between his scholarly research and the living conditions he observes firsthand. Dear viewers, beyond his professional pursuit, Dr. Dexter Story's work is grounded in the belief that African music powerfully embodies themes of joy, liberation, and resilience. Dr. Dexter, thank you for being here with us in our program Open Mic.
First of all, I'm really lucky and privileged to be able to see the festival and come to Eritrea and experience this firsthand. And I want to thank all of the freedom fighters and all of the sponsors and hosts that have allowed me to come.
Doctor, your PhD thesis, Guila Nation, explores the cultural significance of Guila music. After years of academic study, how does experiencing this living tradition firsthand at the National Festival, a microcosm of Eritrean culture, enrich or challenge your understanding?
First of all, Guila Nation was my attempt to speak about a culture and a music that is rarely seen in academic works. And so what's been enriched by seeing the festival, coming to the festival, is that Guila exists not by itself, isolated. It's not some tribe over in the corner in a village, but it exists within a context, a larger context of the Eritrean nationalism, with 9 ethnic groups and 6 zobas, with regional differences even amongst all of the different ethnic groups around the country. So that's been the enrichment. The challenge has been to, in some way, have Guila still exist as its own entity, separate from the other 8 ethnic groups, and to have it not overshadow them, but have its own lineage, if you will, its own story and narrative. And so I'm challenged by allowing Guila to exist on its own, if you will, without undermining the inclusivity that I find in this country and the unity I find here.
Doctor, you've been a frequent visitor to the National Festival since 2019. What are your most significant observations regarding the evolution of Eritrean culture and music over this period? And how have they influenced your own creative work?
So I've seen the festival since 2019, and there were a few years or a couple of years off where the festival didn't happen. I've been lucky to see since 2019, and I think I've mentioned in a conversation, how the Zobas now seem to all be at the same level of expertise. At first I saw that my first visits here, I noticed that some Zobas were better than others. This year I've noticed that all of the Zobas are kind of on par with each other. So that's been an evolution in itself, that seeing all of the expressions of the cultures within those Zobas meet at the same level, if you will. But I've also seen more people here. I've seen more people engage with the culture within the festival. And that's been endearing to see so many people watch Ansaba, watch Gashbarka, and engage with Gashbarka the same way they engage with Dabub. You know, engage with Ansaba the same way they engage with Makan, you know, and the Red Seas as well. So, yeah.
So has it helped you?
Oh, and you mentioned my creative work. Yeah, you know, I've been limited, not having seen this in person, not having been to the festival since 2019. In my perspective of Eritrean culture writ large, I didn't even know anything about Eritrea before. And fortunately, coming to the festival has allowed me to now start incorporating some of those influences, those musical influences, into my own work, even if it's just something as simple as a rhythm. Sometimes it's as simple as just a yell, something like, I say, for example. But being able to see how these, for example, these little devices, these musical devices, yells, rhythms, melodies, that I can also kind of use those in the music that I create. And as well as write about them and how they relate to Guila in my own thesis.
Okay, Doctor, the National Festival is often seen as a reflection of Eritrea's reality. As an academic specializing in this region, what are your insights into how the existing peaceful coexistence and unity among the country's 9 ethnic groups are nurtured and maintained? A harmony that is increasingly rare in, let's say, today's world.
The most striking thing about Eritrea is the inclusivity. I think I've mentioned it before. Everyone is very focused on uplift. We know in this world today there's a lot of tribalism, there's a lot of racism, there's a lot of imperialism even. In Eritrea, I noticed that the narrative is always about one's brother and sister ethnic group, one's brother and sister region, family, inclusivity, and unity. And it's striking, it's fascinating to note how no one's about self here. Everyone's about the larger narrative of inclusivity and unity and togetherness and community. And it never fails. I've been there 10 times, to Eritrea 10 times, and I've never heard anyone tout their own ethnic group and say, mine is better than yours. People are always speaking as if they know other ethnic groups almost as well as they know their own. And that to me is really incredible.
Doctor, there often appears to be a disconnect between the reality of peace and stability on the ground here in Eritrea and the way the country is portrayed internationally. From your unique perspective as a scholar and a frequent visitor, how did you reconcile these contrasting narratives?
Reconciling these narratives is probably the most challenging part of my work. There's a conversation about Eritrea outside of Eritrea that's completely false. I find this country to be one of the safest, one of the most community-oriented, communal countries I've ever witnessed. A country that also exists in terms of its gender parity, allowing women their expression. I've done a lot of studying, reading about it. But to see it is another thing. To see women have almost the same power as men. We can't deny that most societies are patriarchal and more leaning towards men. But here, I get the sense that women have just as much say as men. And there's evidence. There's evidence in how the war was won, the 30-year war was won. There's evidence even in my research, in researching Guila, I'm starting to notice that Guila is just as much a woman's expression as it is a man's expression. And this goes across ethnic groups. I mean, you talk about the Kunama, that's a matrilineal culture, as my dear colleague Mohad Suleiman told me. But across all of the ethnicities, you see women having their say. And it's wonderful to behold. It's wonderful to see. And so reconciling this narrative is very interesting. I get, I'll use the word attacked, but that's probably too harsh of a word. But there are people that ask me questions about it all the time. And I say, well, you have to see for yourself. I'd say, apply for your visa and try to come over for yourself. Look at me. I'm not lying to you. I wouldn't sit here. I'm not selling some narrative about Eritrea. I'm selling or if anything, I'm telling what I've seen. And I've seen it on the ground. It's amazing to behold. I hope more people come and see for themselves.
Again, Eritrean culture is often described as a form of cultural resilience. How do you see the festival reflecting this concept, especially given the history of the country's struggle for self-determination?
The festival is an interesting entity within Eritrea. I don't think most people know that the festival didn't start in Eritrea. It wasn't allowed to be held here. It was actually it started in Bologna. So the whole history of the festival is interesting, that it actually had to be remote, if you will, before it actually came home and established itself here. The cultural resilience I noticed here is that the fact that every ethnic group, all 9 recognized ethnic groups, and including others, I know there are others that are just as important that I don't think are undermined here, and I'm speaking about Hausa with the Kunama, every culture is allowed its expression, its full expression. When you go to the expo and you notice that all of the Zobas have their areas and all their cultural artifacts in each region of the expo grounds, and it's not just a facade of that. There are newlyweds in the Tigrinya space. There are newlyweds in the Kunama space. People bring their actual experience of their lives here. That to me is cultural resilience, where you see ethnic groups express their full selves in one space. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. It's incredible.
Okay, beyond the official exhibits, Doctor, what personal emotions or thoughts have been most prominent for you while being here and experiencing the nation's cultural fabric firsthand?
The thing that always gets me about Eritrea, and that I'll talk about it, and it's something that people always say, you're right. What's so incredible about this country is how people talk to each other and people spend time with each other. You come here, you see everyone speaking. You see everyone sitting down and having coffee together. Elders, youngsters in the same space. It's the most endearing thing I've ever seen. To me, that's a quality of life that can't be bought. That's something that's in your hearts. And it's something I want for my own life. When I go home, I have an opportunity to sit in Starbucks, But here, everywhere, people sit with each other and talk. And having a chai or a macchiato is the most incredible thing. And I know that there are those in the world that think it's about moving fast and going all over the place and working hard, but to me, that is working hard on your unity with people. That's the most profound thing you can say about our humanity, that we're able to sit with each other. I think a second thing I'd like to say is that I don't think I've ever met an Eritrean who didn't say hello back to me. I can say hello to every Eritrean on the street, and they'll always speak to me. No one ever seems to be so upset that they can't say, salam. Salam do? Come here. And it's amazing. And I think that's something that's moved me almost to tears. That everyone offers me tea or bun or a beer, araki, or whatever it is, or food. It's incredible. I love this country.
As an artist who blends East African sounds with other influences, did any specific art, film, or music exhibitions at the festival stand out as a powerful example of modern Eritrean creativity, would you say?
Well, first of all, the expo is incredible. I mean, I think I'm probably underselling the festival if I just call it a music festival, a music and arts festival, or a cultural festival. There's an expo on the grounds at the Festival Eritrea where you can see all of the developments and all of the different Zobas. Each Zoba comes and represents itself, showing its development agriculturally, culturally. So it's not just music and people dancing. It's also people showing their expertise in developing the country along economic lines. And I think that's one of the most incredible things. I'm blown away by that. What's impressed me the most is that the joy I see on faces when they perform. As a musician, sometimes we get up on stage and we try to be serious. You know, I'm a musician at heart, and we try to be serious about what we do. And the incredible part about Eritrean performances that I've noticed, it just blows my mind, is that people actually, you know, are expressing their inner joy. And not just performing, and not just showing off and showing what they got, but showing something that's from deep within, something that maybe has been a cultural tradition in their families for generations. And the proof of that is that after performances, people don't normally clap here and woo-hoo and whistle. A lot of times people are very quiet. It's almost like there's a reverence for that type of authentic expression, that people aren't just being entertained, that they're actually being, what's the word I'm looking for? That they're actually being a part of something. that what they're seeing on stage is something that speaks to them at a deeper level than just yay, but something like they're seeing that actually resonates on a deep cultural level. It's almost hard to explain, but it's something to behold.
Doctor, one last question. Given your deep academic and personal connection to Eritrea, what message would you share with Eritreans in the diaspora? How can they best uphold their attachment to the homeland and contribute to its development through their respective fields?
Come home. You know, I'll say this. I haven't said this publicly. I've told my friends this, but as a Black American, there's a lot to learn from Eritrea. There's a lot to learn from not just the unity you see in the diaspora, which I applaud, but the possibilities that come from having a home that's hard-won, a home, a sovereign home, a place that you can call your own. I don't have that as a Black American. I have the US, but I share that with how many other ethnic groups? Here you can come home and share that with your own indigenous 9 ethnic groups. It's yours. Come get this. Come pour your resources into this place. This is paradise. Compared to what we have out in the Western world, I think you'll find everything you need here. And trust me, being off the grid, not necessarily having the cellular and the internet infrastructure, is a cleanse that we all need. I come here and get healthy. Come get healthy. Come get this. I have, as a Black American, if I'm telling you to come get it and don't lose this, you should as well.
Doctor, any final messages you'd like to give us before we close our program for this evening?
Yes, I want to say that I'm just humbled by the privilege to come here and study the music of Eritrea and Guila music. But this doesn't belong to me. Guila music is not mine. I'm not doing this research for myself. I'm not getting rich off of this. My goal is to pass this on. And as an ethnomusicologist, you know, I've spoken to so many colleagues here in Eritrea about bringing up a new generation to understand what you have here, the richness of the music here. You have everything from Bantu, Hausa expressions and Kunama, through the Nubian expressions and through Sudan and Bedouit and all the expressions of Beni Amr and Tigray and on through Tigrinya up to the pure Arabic expressions of Rashaida. What? This is all untapped, and I hope to, in some way, impart the knowledge that I have to other Eritreans, maybe younger Eritreans, on how to appreciate, fully appreciate, preserve this incredible culture here. I want to say that this could not be possible without the support of the Eritrean government. Ambassador Zemedik, Yamani Gabriel, people who've welcomed me into their offices and read my work. All of my colleagues, such as, the late, great Herui, who just passed away at the Musicians Association, to Muhammad Usman, to Muhammad Saleh, to Kasai Gibrahiwat, to Barnabas, who was one of the first people to welcome me, Barnabas Mebratu, to all the musicians such as Sabe and Derona, and so many musicians. I've met Zamach, I've met so many people. To everyone in the diaspora that's actually welcomed me, to Sayas Tesfamariam, as well as your archivists like Fitsum Gabr Salasi, Jumbo Glass, to Mohad Suleiman, who I've mentioned, to my dear friend Muhammad Saleh Hussein, to so many, I'm forgetting so many, my friend Jasmine Kidane, Hadinet, and Ambassador Chargé d'Affaires Berhain, who have allowed me to come here. I thank all of them. They've given me the platform, and you've given me the platform, and the freedom fighters have made this possible for me to be here. I'm grateful, I'm full, and I thank you for this time.
Doctor, we thank you for being here at our program for this evening, and we wish you all the best in your research, and hope you will pay us a visit more often in the years ahead, particularly the national festivals.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Bob.
Dear viewers, that wraps up this week's Open Mic. It is good night from me.